Hello and welcome, my dear friend. Let's start with something simple but often overlooked. God does not love you for what you've achieved. He does not measure you by the medals you've earned or the milestones others celebrate. But He admires the way you never gave up trying. He loves that you kept moving forward, not because you were chasing more to have, but because your heart wanted to bring ease, peace, and stability for yourself and for those around you. Even when your effort didn't bring the outcome you hoped for, it carried a fragrance heaven could not ignore. That's why His love for your character is so steady. It isn't tied to results. It's tied to the posture of your heart while you were in motion. Character is rarely glamorous. It shows itself in how you handle small, unpolished moments, returning what wasn't yours, speaking gently when you could have been sharp, keeping your word even when nobody checked in to see if you did. These are not headline-making actions, but they are the fabric of a life that heaven finds beautiful. Think about it. Character is not about polish. It's about persistence. A clay pot that's been fired in the furnace may have cracks, but if it still holds water, it has value. You've walked through furnaces that could have left you empty, but instead, you came out still holding compassion, still holding kindness. That's what God cherishes in you. And here's what makes this unique. Your character didn't grow in gentle gardens. It formed in places where pressure was constant. Not the easy pressure of daily tasks, but the kind that gnaws at the soul. Unfair treatment, long nights of waiting, silence that made you wonder if heaven was listening. Through all of that, you kept weaving threads of honesty, loyalty, and gentleness into the fabric of your days. God loves your character because it mirrors His own. He is the God who stays steady when storms roar, the one who keeps giving when humanity turns away. And when He looks at you, He sees echoes of His own nature stitched into your responses. Not because you never stumbled, but because even in stumbling, you reached for the light instead of the shadows. And maybe you didn't think of it that way. Maybe you called it just doing what I could. But to heaven, those choices are not small. They are living evidence that goodness still has a vessel in this world. You became a place where mercy could keep flowing. You became a doorway for peace to walk through. Character isn't measured by perfection. It's measured by resilience. It's not about whether every detail of your past was flawless. It's about the way you stood back up when life could have convinced you to stay down. It's about the way you kept tenderness alive when hardness would have been easier to carry. Let's make this more concrete. Imagine a lantern burning late at night. The oil is nearly gone. The wind keeps pressing against the flame, yet somehow it refuses to go out. That's what your character has been. A light that keeps burning when conditions say it shouldn't. And God sees that, not with pity, but with pride. He treasures your character because it tells a story outcomes cannot capture. Success can be faked. Noise can be staged, but the durability of your spirit cannot be copied. It was forged through decisions that cost you something. Sleep, comfort, maybe even relationships. But you never surrendered the essence of who you are. And here's the deeper truth. Your character is not fragile. It doesn't disappear when you make mistakes. It doesn't unravel when a day goes wrong. It bends, it adjusts, but it returns to alignment because the roots are deep. That's why heaven holds it in such regard. It's alive, flexible, and real, not a mask that shatters when pressure comes. You've been building this quietly, brick by brick. Some days it looked invisible, even to you, but in the unseen, heaven was watching mortar dry, foundation set, beams strengthened. What looks ordinary on the outside is extraordinary to God because He knows the weight of what it took to build it. And because of that, your character has become like a signature. Every time you chose truth over convenience, every time you extended patience when frustration would have been easier, every time you carried kindness into spaces where it didn't return to you, it wrote your name in places you couldn't see. That's why His love is drawn to it. It isn't only about who you are in the light of day, but about the pieces of yourself that held together in the dark. The restraint you showed when words burned on your tongue, the forgiveness you extended before apologies came, the faith you held when evidence was thin. These are not accidents, they are the architecture of character. And God loves it because it means your soul is not shallow. You have depth, and depth is what He builds futures on. So when I say God loves your character, hear it as more than a gentle phrase. It is acknowledgement from heaven that the hidden structure of your life can carry what's ahead. It is proof that the way you've chosen to live, even when results disappointed you, has become a foundation unshaken by circumstance. When God loves something, He multiplies it. That's the beauty of His nature. He doesn't admire from a distance, He invests. And because He loves your character, He is already weaving opportunities around you that fit what you've been shaping inside. Think of it like this. A strong seed draws rain. Farmers don't waste water on barren soil, but when they see life rising, they pour more into it. Heaven has been doing the same with you. The depth of your character is drawing new supply, fresh connections, and a level of protection you might not even recognize yet. This is where the shift begins. People may have overlooked what you carried, but God has been attending to it closely, not as a reward for perfection, but as a natural flow from the strength of who you've become. Because here's the truth, character is not just admired in heaven, it is trusted. And what God trusts, He expands. His affection for what you've built is not soft sentiment, it's structural. It means He can build legacy through you. Not just blessings that end with you, but blessings that flow beyond you. Your children, your community, even strangers you'll never meet, will taste the fruit of the character you've been growing. And here's the part that may surprise you. The same traits that once made you feel out of place are the exact reasons heaven leans on you now. Your patience, your refusal to harden, your quiet resilience, these weren't weaknesses. They were ingredients for leadership. Not leadership in the loud, self-promoting sense, but in the way that shifts the course of a moment the second you arrive. Think about how a river carves stone. It doesn't shout, but over time, it changes entire landscapes. That's what your character is doing. Slowly, steadily, it is reshaping places that once seemed immovable. And this is why heaven values it so deeply, because it is fruitful in ways outcomes can't measure. Awards fade, titles expire, but character keeps rippling outward long after the moment has passed. Now let me be honest with you. This kind of strength inside does not mean life gets easier. In fact, it often means you'll be stretched more, but stretched for a reason. When God sees that your inner structure can carry more, He entrusts you with more. That's why certain exchanges don't feel casual anymore. Why the quiet between you and others carries weight it didn't before. Why some who once brushed past you now hesitate, as if they sense something has changed. It isn't coincidence. It's the evidence of who you've become. Here's something you might not have thought about. Your character is also a shield. The honesty you've carried is guarding you from traps. The mercy you've chosen is protecting you from cycles of bitterness. The humility you've lived in is keeping you from falling into pride's pit. You didn't just build character. Character is now building a covering around you. And remember this strength is not conditional. It's not something you earn one day and lose the next. It's a steady gaze from heaven, a constant acknowledgement of the choices you've made again and again, even when it cost you. My dear friend, hear me clearly. You are standing on a threshold. The unseen has already shifted. The qualities that once made you tired from holding them up will now start carrying you forward. Where others thought you were simply enduring, heaven knew you were laying tracks for a train that was always going to run. Your character has become more than survival. It has become a vessel for God's movement in the earth, a lamp that refuses to go out, a root system that refuses to let storms win, a steady rhythm that refuses to bow to chaos. And what stayed alive in you through trial is now the bedrock of everything ahead. That foundation cannot be taken from you. Not now, not never. Thank you so much for taking this journey with me. If you found value in this message, please like the video and share it with others who might benefit. Don't forget to subscribe and continue your amazing journey by watching one of the videos showing on your screen that resonates with you the most. See you there. Hello and welcome, my dear friend. There are seasons where life feels like one long uphill climb, where every step feels heavier than the last, and no matter how much you push forward, it seems like the ground keeps slipping beneath you. Maybe you've been in that season, where the weight of expectation, the weight of pressure, the weight of simply existing feels endless. But hear this, the end of that struggle is near, because God never designed your life to be an endless war. He designed it with valleys and mountaintops, with battles and breakthroughs. Every storm has an expiration date. Every season of struggle eventually closes. And you, right now, are standing closer than you've ever been to peace breaking through. But here's a truth most people don't realize. Many times, the deepest source of our struggles isn't just what happens to us, it's how we look at life itself. Imagine this. Someone convinces themselves that life only counts if they live in a mansion, if success looks a certain way, if they hit the markers society parades as enough. What happens? Joy rarely visits them, because the baseline is set so high, they miss the quiet beauty that was already here. Now imagine that same person with the exact same life, but their baseline of joy rests in hearing birds chirp outside the window, in thanking God for a warm meal, in the simple blessing of being able to walk freely. Suddenly, almost everything in life feels good, because their eyes are open to what's already present, not just what's missing. This is not about lowering your dreams or refusing to grow. It's about remembering what more truly means. Society has diluted the meaning of a dream life with screens, noise, and comparison. But heaven's definition of abundance is different. Abundance is not just about what you gain tomorrow. It's about what you recognize today. And this is why so many people live in constant struggle, even when their roof is above them and their table is filled, because their eyes are locked on what the world says is missing, rather than on the blessings God has already poured into their days. But when you pause, when you let the noise fall silent, when you peel back the expectations placed on you, you notice something powerful. God has been directing your life all along. Every leaf that falls, every sunrise that breaks the horizon, every breath you take, none of it is by accident. And when you take your eyes off of what you think is lacking and place them on what is already here, struggle begins to loosen its grip. This doesn't mean you stop striving, stop dreaming, or stop reaching for more. It means you no longer measure your worth by what you don't yet have. You live in joy while you grow. You walk in peace while you climb. That is where struggle begins to end, not when the outside world changes, but when your spirit realigns with the truth of how much God has already given. And here's another truth. The blessings of God are not random drops that fall once in a while. They are a constant stream, always flowing, always available. The difference is this. Some people place themselves in that stream through trust, faith, and surrender. Others spend their whole lives trying to figure everything out only with their own minds. And that never works, because the brain alone cannot carry the mysteries of a divine story. But you belong to the first group. You've been learning step by step how to trust, how to release the obsession of figuring everything out, and instead place yourself under the flow of God's stream. And that's why heaven is saying, the end of struggle is near for you. Think of it like this. When a butterfly has finished its time in the cocoon, the shell can't hold it anymore. The walls that once protected now have to break. That's where you are. The season that shaped you is complete, and heaven itself is demanding your wings to unfold. Your struggle was never meant to be permanent. It was only preparation. The winds are quieting, the rain is slowing, and what you thought might last forever is already breaking apart. And remember, the struggle is not your definition. It is not the name heaven calls you by. It was a chapter, and that chapter is closing. You are stepping into a new alignment, where peace is louder than pressure, where gratitude opens the door to joy, and where trust places you directly under the flow of God's blessings. The end of struggle is near, and soon you will not just believe it, you will feel it. There's something sacred about this moment you're in. You may not feel it yet, but heaven does. Because what you've been carrying is not light, and still you carried it. You pressed forward when most would have collapsed. And that is why the message is reaching you now. Let's be honest about struggle. It's not just about circumstances. It's not only unpaid bills or unanswered prayers. Struggle also lives in the mind, the constant wrestling, the self-questioning, the heaviness of wondering if you'll ever see breakthrough. That's what drains the soul most. Not the storm outside, but the storm within. And yet, here you are. You made it through countless mornings when your body wanted to stay in bed. You showed up when your heart was fractured. You kept walking when fear told you to freeze. That resilience is not invisible. It's recorded in heaven. But maybe you've wondered, if God loves me, why has it been so hard? That question is not weakness, it's honesty. And the answer is this: struggle was never the whole story. It was only the shaping ground. And yes, it's okay to feel tired sometimes, but the beauty is, even in restlessness, you keep trusting that every part of your life carries its necessity. Think about the butterfly again. If you cut open the cocoon too early, the butterfly never develops the strength to fly. The pressure of pushing against the walls is what builds its wings. Your struggle wasn't there to destroy you, it was building you for the flight that's about to unfold. And now, because the shaping season is complete, the walls can't hold you anymore. Struggle cannot define you anymore. You're breaking through into light. Here's something else to hold. God's blessings are not waiting to suddenly begin in the future. They have always been flowing, always. The stream never stopped. But when struggle consumes us, we forget to step into that stream. We start to believe the blessing is delayed, when in truth, it was present. But our eyes were fixed only on the lack. This is why gratitude is so powerful. Gratitude isn't ignoring reality, it's choosing which reality to magnify. We can stare at what's missing until our soul starves, or we can turn toward what's already here and realize God has been feeding us all along. Think about it. How many mornings have you woken up when you thought you had no strength left? How many times did the path open just when you thought it was over? How many small mercies have held you, merely breathing, eating, walking, being kept alive? That's blessing. That's the stream, and your trust is what keeps you in it. Some people spend their whole lives trying to make sense of everything with logic alone. They treat life like a puzzle, believing if they think harder, they'll figure out the pattern. But life isn't solved by the brain. It's lived by the spirit. That's why trust matters. Trust doesn't mean you stop moving. Trust means you stop strangling life with control. It means you lean into the knowing that God directs every tide that shifts, every star that lights the night. If He tends to creation at that level of detail, how much more is He tending to you? And you, my dear friend, you've been stepping into that trust, slowly, quietly, faithfully. That's why your struggle cannot continue as it has. You've already shifted. You're already aligned with the stream. Heaven has already marked your release. But let me also say this with clarity. God is not just ending your struggle externally. He's ending it internally. Because the heaviest chains are not the bills, the doors, the rejections. The heaviest chains are the beliefs that whispered, maybe I'll never get out. Maybe this is just who I am. Maybe my life is just struggle after struggle. That lie is breaking right now. Heaven is saying, your story is not struggle. Your story is redemption. Your story is divine alignment. Your story is wings opening after long darkness. Picture this, the darkest night finally softening into dawn. The sky hasn't fully cleared yet, but you can see the first streak of light stretching across the horizon. That's where you are. Not in endless night, not yet in full day, but right at the moment where night loses its power. And soon, that light will not just touch the horizon, it will fill the whole sky. That's the life waiting for you. Not a life where everything is perfect, but a life where joy and peace meet you daily. So lift your eyes. The season of endless climbing is closing. The cocoon is breaking. The tide is turning. The dawn is rising. The end of struggle is near. And soon you will see what peace feels like when it's not temporary, but rooted in God Himself. And when you step into that peace, you'll realize something profound. The struggle was never your identity. It was only the soil. And from that soil, something holy is about to bloom. Thank you so much for taking this journey with me. If this message resonated, please like, share it with someone who might benefit, and subscribe to stay connected. Continue your awakening journey by choosing one of the videos on your screen that resonates with you the most. See you there. Hello and welcome, my dear friend. I'm going to say something wild, and your spirit will recognize it before your mind does. The vault is already humming. Somewhere in the unseen, a two-key system is waiting. Heaven holds one key, and the other is being formed inside your character. When both turn at the same time, doors don't open. They glide, like they've been expecting you. Sudden wealth is taxiing on the runway, but it doesn't land on empty hearts. It lands on prepared ones. Tonight isn't about hype or a jackpot fantasy. This is about an assignment. The blessing approaching you is not loud confetti, it's quiet authority. And authority feels different in the body. Your breath slows. Your thoughts get clean. You stop counting pennies and start counting impact. You've already noticed the rehearsals, those tiny internal upgrades no one else saw, the way impulse lost its volume, the way generosity started visiting you before the money did, the way labels that once made you feel seen suddenly looked small. That wasn't random. That was heaven installing infrastructure so acceleration wouldn't shake you loose. Here's the truth they rarely say out loud. Increase exposes interiors. Money doesn't upgrade identity, it amplifies it. It's a soundboard. If resentment lives in you, the knob turns up. If gratitude lives in you, that rises too. That's why the fire came first. God's been teaching your hands how to carry something that would collapse without weight behind it. Because blessing isn't decoration, it's a tool. Picture a master jeweler setting a rare stone. Before the stone ever touches the ring, the setting is forged, cooled, tested, and tested again. The value is in the stone, yes, but the safety is in the setting. You have been the setting under flame. That pressure you hated, it shaped you so nothing precious would fall out when life starts moving at God's speed. Let's be plain. Increase multiplies options, and options multiply temptations. That's why your appetites have been brought into order. That's why late-night scrolling lost its grip. That's why you no longer need to be seen to feel valuable. You're being calibrated for custody, not applause. Heaven isn't simply willing to bless you, it's ready to trust you. And there will be warfare at the door of elevation. Not theatrical chaos, strategic counterfeits, offers that look like opportunities but smell wrong in your spirit. Partnerships that feel urgent. Contracts with fine print that try to claim your influence along with your name. Remember this. Peace is a data point. If your peace goes missing while the pen is in your hand, the answer is no. Divine provision never requires you to mortgage conviction. You may also feel the circle thinning. It isn't pride, it's precision. Not everyone has clearance for the next room. History with you and health for you aren't the same thing. Love people, bless them, but protect the mission. The resources coming are not souvenirs to pass around. They're seed. Seed for voices that need microphones. Seed for houses of refuge that don't exist yet. Seed for solutions that have been waiting for a builder with steady hands. This is why shame is breaking off you. This is why the old scarcity narrator is losing the mic. Your future requires tenderness and teeth. Soft where people are wounded. Steel where systems are corrupt. If you've been asking for confirmation, here it is. You started acting like a steward before the deposit hit. You stopped buying to prove and started planning to build. Your questions changed from, how do I look successful, to, will this free people? Will this last? Those aren't the questions of someone chasing wealth. That is wealth in motion, taking notes on where to land. I want to talk to the quiet fear that still whispers, what if I'm not ready? Readiness isn't the absence of nerves. It's the presence of foundation. You have a foundation now. Private obedience, clean motive, generosity that didn't wait for surplus. You didn't broadcast the process, but heaven counted it. There is a ledger over your life, and it isn't written in luck. It's written in faithfulness. There's another layer coming into focus, the speed. When the keys finally turn, acceleration won't feel reckless. It will feel right, like a door gliding because it recognizes the name engraved on it. People will call it sudden. You'll know it was scheduled. People will label it luck. You'll remember nights where you traded applause for alignment and impulse for integrity. The harvest will look fast, but the roots are ancient. You'll feel the tug to prove something to people who misread you. Resist the theater. Your life is already the evidence. The real strength is clean peace. The real crown is forgiveness no one thought you could give. Release what wants to turn your heart into a courtroom. You don't need a verdict to move into your future. Listen, there is a reason you were hidden. Not ignored, hidden. Hidden people learn to hear God in rooms without microphones. Hidden people practice excellence without an audience. They become immune to the cheap sugar rush of being seen. That immunity is priceless where you are headed, because when favor pulls you onto bigger stages, the applause won't be loud enough to buy your soul, and the criticism won't be sharp enough to make you fold. If your spirit has felt like it's pre-remembering a life you haven't lived yet, that's alignment coming online. The vault is humming, the tarmac is clear, the setting is ready for the stone, and you, steady, clear-eyed, are about to discover that what the world calls wealth is just one part of what heaven is about to trust you with. There's something else happening beneath the surface that few will understand. Wealth doesn't just elevate, it isolates. The higher you rise, the quieter the room becomes. Not because you've changed, but because the reflection of your elevation unsettles those who never imagined you here. Some will distance themselves without a word. Others will linger with smiles that don't quite reach their eyes. And in those moments, you'll realize solitude isn't punishment, it's preservation. This is where clarity sharpens. When the noise fades, you start hearing God in frequencies you missed before. You start seeing who was connected to your struggle and who was actually connected to your soul. Wealth doesn't just add, it subtracts. It removes what cannot stand in the new climate. The circle shrinks not to starve you of love, but to save you from sabotage. And in that stillness, you'll notice something unusual. Doors opening without you knocking. People you've never met studying you quietly, measuring the way you move when the crowd isn't watching. Gatekeepers, investors, hidden allies. They are not impressed by flash, but by faithfulness. They are not moved by how loud you are, but by how steady you've been. They're not funding potential, they're backing character. And your consistency in the shadows has become louder than 1,000 pitches. Sudden wealth, when it comes to chosen ones, isn't random. It's precise. Heaven times it only when the ground is clear of distractions, when your motives are no longer tangled with performance, when your heart is steady enough to carry blessing without distortion. That's why your timeline felt stretched. It wasn't slow, it was exact. Every delay was a layer of protection. Every closed door was redirection. Every silence was God shielding you from rooms where your gift would have been used but never valued. And here's the paradox. When it hits, it won't feel like conquest. It'll feel like responsibility. You'll realize this isn't about flexing on those who doubted. It's about funding what heaven whispered. Your wealth won't just purchase, it will plant. It won't just decorate, it will deliver. It won't just lift you, it will lift bloodlines, communities, voices that thought they had no microphone. But don't be surprised when unhealed hearts misinterpret your rise. To them, it will feel unfair, as if you skipped the line. They'll forget the nights you prayed, the years you carried what felt invisible, the sacrifices no one applauded, and they'll call it luck. They'll call it coincidence. They'll even whisper about shortcuts you never took. Don't waste your breath trying to correct them. Their opinion is not the assignment. Their disbelief is not your burden. Instead, let your life preach what words never could. Your consistency, your generosity, your peace. That's the real sermon. That's what makes bystanders squint, not because you shine too bright, but because your light refuses to flicker under pressure. And yes, old ghosts will try to resurface. People who once overlooked you will suddenly remember your number. Some will act like nothing ever happened. Others will offer apologies that sound more like negotiations. Wealth has a way of drawing the past into the present. But here is your crown: forgiveness without reopening every door. You can release them without reinstating them. You can bless them without binding yourself again. That's what royalty does. It refuses to turn blessing into revenge. My dear friend, you were hidden so long that even you began to wonder if God forgot. But now it's clear. He wasn't keeping you out. He was keeping you safe. And the moment the vault opens, you'll see why. You weren't being prepared for a quick thrill. You were being built for a legacy, for answers only you could fund, for movements that won't carry your name, but will carry your fingerprints across generations. Wealth in your hands won't look like the world expects. It won't echo with noise. It will pulse with nourishment. It won't be a spectacle. It will be strategy. It won't just upgrade your lifestyle. It will rewrite history through you. And when that weight lands, you'll realize it was never about sudden money. It was about sudden meaning. Because heaven isn't trying to make you rich. Heaven is trying to make you reliable. And now it can. Thank you so much for taking this journey with me. If you found value in this message, please like the video and share it with others who might benefit. Don't forget to subscribe and continue your amazing journey by watching one of the videos showing on your screen that resonates with you the most. See you there. Hello and welcome, my dear friend. Let me say this plainly. There are people watching you right now who cannot figure out how you became what you are. They replay the memories, the moments, the choices, and still it doesn't add up. And the truth is, it won't. Because what they're looking at is not just talent or personality. It's a rare gift placed inside you before time began. And here's what unsettles them most. They can't imitate it. They can mimic style. They can copy words. They can even try to rehearse your rhythm. But the source of your gift is divine, not learned. And that intimidates them, because it means no matter how hard they study you, they'll never become you. My dear friend, your gift is not random. It is evidence. Evidence that heaven saw a need in the earth and trusted you to carry the answer. And when you walk in a room carrying that kind of assignment, it makes insecure hearts twitch. Not because you did anything to provoke them, but because your presence reminds them of what they ignored in themselves. Think of it like this. Some gifts shine like candles, useful, warm, familiar. But your gift? It's lightning. It doesn't just light a corner of the room, it splits the sky. It exposes what was hiding in the dark. It rattles the ground. It leaves an imprint, and that's why they stare at you with a mixture of admiration and unease. They're fascinated and unsettled at the same time. You've probably noticed this already. People drawn close, not to celebrate you, but to study you. Friends who once felt safe around you suddenly turning distant. Even strangers giving you that double take, as if they're asking silently, "Who are you really?" That's what happens when the gift inside you begins to speak louder than your words. It announces you before you even open your mouth. And the envy? Don't take it personally. Envy is simply proof that what you carry can't be ignored. You've become a mirror people didn't ask for. Your life is reflecting their own choices back to them. And for some, that's too much to handle. They would rather believe you had shortcuts or secret help than face the truth, that God put something in you they cannot manufacture. Here's what's wild. Your gift has been there all along, but it took fire to reveal it. It took pressure to refine it. And now that it's visible, it's unshakable. What you carry is not fragile, it's forged. That's why attempts to discredit you always fail. That's why rumors lose steam. That's why those who try to outshine you end up dimming themselves. Because authenticity doesn't compete, it simply endures. Let me make this personal. The reason people are intimidated isn't because you're loud or because you demanded attention. It's the opposite. You've been consistent in silence. You've been excellent in the shadows. They can't control the narrative anymore. They can't pretend not to see it. Your gift is undeniable. And here's the divine irony. They want the results of your gift without the responsibility of it. They want the recognition, not the refining. They want the stage, not the surrender. But God doesn't release this kind of weight to just anyone. That's why you were hidden for so long. That's why your timeline felt delayed. God was preserving the gift until you were ready to steward it. So when you sense the tension in the room, remember this. It's not about them being against you. It's about them being exposed by you. Your gift reveals what's authentic and what's artificial. It reveals who has been building in faith and who has been building in performance. And that revelation makes people unsettled, but don't let their unrest make you restless. Your assignment is not to defend your gift, it's to develop it. Your role is not to shrink so others feel comfortable, it's to stand so others know what's possible. Heaven didn't put this fire in you just to keep you safe. It put it in you to light paths, to burn lies, to clear space for truth. And whether they admit it or not, even those who resist you will eventually benefit from the brightness you carry. So hear me clearly. The gift inside you is not just decoration. It's weaponry, it's healing, it's instruction, it's blueprint. And the reason they're unsettled is because they can't predict where it will go next. But heaven already mapped it out. Your steps are ordered, your influence is scheduled, and the unveiling has already begun. This is why your atmosphere feels heavier lately. This is why your dreams have become more vivid. This is why even your body feels like it's anticipating something, because it is. Your gift is entering a season of exposure, and when it does, the same people who dismissed you will scramble to explain you. But explanation won't be possible, because you can't explain divine rarity, you can only witness it. So don't waste time arguing with envy. Don't dilute your fire to make others less uncomfortable. And don't question the value of your gift just because others fear it. If it intimidates them, it's only because it reminds them of the God who trusted you to carry it. And you, my dear friend, are carrying it well. When heaven places a rare gift inside someone, it isn't just to make them different, it's to make them disruptive. Not disruptive in the way of chaos, but disruptive in the way of breaking patterns, shifting atmospheres, rewriting rules. And the moment your gift begins to manifest in full, every counterfeit around you starts trembling. That's why your presence feels like pressure in rooms where deception has lived comfortably. That's why certain people avoid eye contact when you speak. They aren't reacting to you. They're reacting to the authority in your gift. Light doesn't argue with darkness. It simply exposes what was hiding there. And here's the thing. They may never say it out loud. They may never confess their intimidation or jealousy. Instead, it shows up in sideways comments, half-hearted support, or quiet withdrawal. But you'll feel it. You'll feel the weight of eyes watching you, measuring you, hoping secretly that you stumble so they can feel safe again. But don't let their silence trick you into doubting. The truth is, even their distance is proof. Their reaction is evidence. If nothing was there, there would be no tremble. Remember, people aren't unsettled by average. They're unsettled by undeniable. And undeniable is exactly what your gift has become. You've probably noticed how your very existence makes some people uneasy. It's not because you wronged them, it's because your life is a reminder of what obedience looks like. While they compromised, you stayed faithful. While they rushed, you stayed patient. While they tried shortcuts, you endured the fire. And now, the fruit of that faithfulness is visible, and it unsettles those who traded long-term glory for temporary ease. But here's the truth. No scheme against your gift will stand. They can plot, they can gossip, they can even gather in circles to question you. But what you carry has already been pressure tested. It was built in the furnace, and heat can't undo what heat has already forged. Let me tell you this truth. The season you're entering isn't just about being seen, it's about being used. Heaven didn't cultivate your gift so it could sit on display like a trophy. It cultivated it so you could become an answer. For the broken, your gift will be healing. For the confused, your gift will be clarity. For the hopeless, your gift will be proof that God still moves in the earth. That's why envy can't be your focus, because while some are intimidated, others are waiting to be transformed by what you carry. Don't waste oil on arguments when your assignment is to pour it on wounds. Don't waste fire on feuds when your gift was designed to burn paths open for the lost. Not everyone will understand you, but the ones who need you will recognize you. My dear friend, when that moment comes, remember this. Your assignment is bigger than applause. Your gift is meant to plant, to heal, to build, to free. And the ones who once whispered against you will one day have no choice but to admit they saw it, they felt it, and it unsettled them. But by then, their fear won't matter, because your gift will be too busy transforming lives to be stopped by intimidation. So protect your gift, nurture it, steward it, with the same faithfulness that got you here, because the season has come, not just for your gift to be seen, but for it to be unleashed. And once unleashed, no force on earth can contain what God has chosen you to carry. And that is why they're unsettled, because deep down, they already know. What you carry cannot be stopped. Thank you so much for taking this journey with me. If this message resonated, please like, share it with someone who might benefit, and subscribe to stay connected. Continue your awakening journey by choosing one of the videos on your screen that resonates with you the most. See you there. Hello and welcome, my dear friend. There are moments in history when God doesn't just speak through scripture, or through signs in the heavens, or through the thunder of prophets. There are moments when God speaks through a life. And what I need you to understand is this: your life is becoming one of those voices. God is about to use you as proof. Not the kind of proof that debates or argues, not the kind of proof that demands attention, the kind of proof that simply is. The kind that silences questions without saying a word. The kind that makes even doubters lean back and whisper, "Something greater is moving here." You may not see it yet, but heaven has been shaping you for this exact purpose. While you've been walking through fire, others thought you were just surviving. But in reality, God was engraving His name into your story. Every trial, every season of silence, every moment you thought was wasted, it was all being written as evidence. Think about it. There are people who only believe in what they can measure, who only trust what they can explain. And yet, when they encounter you, explanations begin to crack. Your endurance doesn't make sense to them. Your joy after heartbreak doesn't add up. Your peace in storms feels unnatural, and that's because it is. It's supernatural. God has set you apart as a living demonstration. Others may preach sermons with their words, but you've been preaching one with your perseverance. Others may try to argue doctrine, but you've been showing God's reality by how you rise after every fall. And this is why the weight on your shoulders has felt so heavy. You've been carrying more than just your own battles. You've been carrying proof. And here's what I need you to really hear. You didn't volunteer for this proof by chasing attention. You were chosen because you didn't quit when no one was watching. You were chosen because you stayed faithful when no one rewarded you. You were chosen because, even in moments when your faith felt fragile, you kept walking anyway. That's what makes your life such powerful evidence. It's not about perfection, it's about persistence. Do you realize how rare that is? In a world that celebrates shortcuts, you didn't skip the process. In a culture that glorifies performance, you chose authenticity. In a generation where many are searching for validation, you kept searching for truth. That kind of soul becomes undeniable proof. This is why people feel a mix of awe and confusion around you. They may not know how to articulate it, but something about you unsettles their explanations. And that's exactly the point. Your existence was designed to reveal what intellect alone cannot. God is about to take your story, the scars, the recoveries, the lessons, the growth, and place it in front of people who desperately need to see that He is real. And when they look at you, they won't just see survival, they'll see divine fingerprints. It's almost like your life has been a canvas, and every painful brushstroke was preparing a masterpiece. At first, it looked messy. At times, it looked like ruin. But now, the image is becoming clear. And when people step back to see it, they'll realize they aren't just looking at you. They're looking at God's work. And here's what's wild. You may feel ordinary. You may look at your own reflection and still see cracks. But even those cracks are part of the evidence. They prove that God's power doesn't need a perfect vessel to shine. They prove that grace is strongest in the broken places. That's why your testimony carries so much weight, because it's not about theory, it's about transformation. It's not about ideals, it's about impact. You're not pointing people to a distant God. Your very life is pointing people to a God who walks into the middle of human struggle and makes beauty out of ashes. So don't dismiss the pressure you've been under. Don't resent the seasons that broke you down. Those were the chapters that gave your proof its credibility. Without them, your story would be inspiring at best, but it wouldn't be undeniable. And God doesn't just want inspiring, He wants undeniable. You've noticed it, the way life has started arranging itself in patterns you didn't design. Things you thought were finished are reappearing. Paths that once led nowhere are clearing. It isn't coincidence, it's placement. And when it unfolds, people will reach for explanations, but none of them will hold. Because what's happening through you can't be traced to chance or human effort. That's when they'll realize they're not just looking at you, they're looking at God through you. And my dear friend, that is the season you are stepping into. When God begins to use a life as evidence, it doesn't happen quietly. Proof demands an audience, and you'll begin to notice that more eyes find you. Not because you asked for attention, but because what God is doing through you refuses to stay hidden. People will notice without you asking for it. Some will watch from a distance, trying to trace the steps that kept you standing when others with the same weight fell. Some will press in closer, looking for a blueprint they can copy. And some will turn away because the sight of you dismantles the excuses they've been leaning on. This is the double edge of being proof. It comforts the hungry, but it confronts the complacent. It gives hope to those desperate for God, but it unsettles those who would rather pretend He isn't real. But hear me, you're not responsible for their reactions. Your assignment is not to convince, it's to live. To walk faithfully in what God already placed in you. Because proof doesn't argue, it simply exists. And existence has a way of preaching louder than words ever could. History shows us something simple. Undeniable proof never argues. The scientist doesn't need to beg people to believe in gravity. Objects falling speak louder than words. A musician doesn't convince anyone of their gift. They play, and the sound carries its own authority. A tree doesn't explain how it grew from a seed. It stands tall, and its roots prove the process. In the same way, you won't need to defend yourself. Your survival, your endurance, your transformation will do the talking. And here's what will astonish people most. You won't just survive, you'll flourish. Proof isn't fragile. It doesn't barely make it out. It carries abundance with it. Your life will begin to reflect a wholeness that no storm could cancel, peace that doesn't make sense, joy that isn't tied to circumstances, strength that doesn't come from human resolve. This is the kind of demonstration God has been cultivating in you, and it's why certain opportunities felt delayed. Heaven wasn't holding you back. It was preparing you so that when the unveiling came, the evidence would be undeniable. But with this unveiling comes weight. Being proof is not casual, it's holy. It means your choices ripple further, your presence changes atmospheres, your integrity matters more than ever. This isn't to pressure you, but to remind you that what you carry is sacred. You're not just representing yourself anymore, you're carrying revelation. And yes, that may draw envy. People may try to explain away your story, dismiss your process, or even criticize your rise. But their resistance is just another layer of evidence, because only undeniable proof creates that kind of unrest. So don't dilute yourself to ease their discomfort. Don't second-guess the assignment because the spotlight feels strange. You weren't preserved this long to retreat now. Instead, lean into it. Let your life keep speaking. Let it keep testifying in boardrooms and living rooms, on quiet mornings and loud evenings, among strangers and among those who thought they knew you. Every space you step into becomes a stage for God to reveal himself, and you don't even have to force it. Because the same God who wrote your story is also the one presenting it. And when he presents a life, no opposition can bury it, no scheme can distort it, and no power on earth can silence it. You are walking into days where your presence itself will answer questions people didn't even know how to ask, where someone will look at you and without you saying a word, feel hope rise inside them, where the doubter who swore they'd never believe will wrestle with the fact that you exist because your story removes the option of denial. And this is just the beginning. Because being proof isn't only about validation, it's about multiplication. The evidence you carry will plant faith in others. Your endurance will spark courage in those who wanted to quit. Your transformation will ignite hunger in people who thought they were too far gone. This is why God preserved you. Not just for survival, but for influence. Not for titles or applause, but for impact that stretches further than you realize. So walk boldly into this, not arrogantly, but boldly, not apologizing for the grace on your life, but honoring it by living fully. Because when you shine, the glory doesn't stay with you, it points upward. And one day, when people retell your story, they won't say, "Look at what they did." They'll say, "Look at what God did through them." That's what it means to be proof, to become the undeniable echo of a God who is still alive, still moving, still faithful. And my dear friend, whether you feel ready or not, that's exactly who you are becoming. Thank you so much for taking this journey with me. If you found value in this message, please like the video and share it with others who might benefit. Don't forget to subscribe and continue your amazing journey by watching one of the videos showing on your screen that resonates with you the most. See you there. Hello and welcome, my dear friend. There is a reason this word is finding you now, because recently you crossed a moment that not many people ever reach. You faced situations that could have twisted you, broken you, or turned you bitter, but instead you carried it with grace. Grace is not softness. Grace is strength disguised as gentleness. Grace is the decision to keep your hands clean when life handed you mud. Grace is restraint when you could have unleashed chaos, and heaven took note. Anyone can celebrate when everything works. Anyone can be kind when people applaud them. But you made decisions in the dark that revealed the core of who you are. Some would have chosen revenge, some would have folded under the pressure, but you stayed steady. You chose a higher road. And heaven's response was not disappointment, it was delight. Grace rarely looks loud. It doesn't demand to be seen. It moves quietly through ordinary choices that look forgettable to people but unforgettable to God. That's what makes you unique. It wasn't just what you did, it was how you did it. Picture the lock on a dam. It makes no sound. It doesn't look heroic. Yet the weight of an entire river pushes against it. If it ever broke, everything downstream would flood. That's what your grace has been. Silent strength, holding back what could have destroyed more than just you. You may not have realized it at the time. You may have told yourself, "I'm just surviving. I'm just doing what I can." But heaven leaned closer. Heaven said, "This one handled it differently. This one stayed aligned." And that alignment has weight. It's now the mark that your life can carry more than you thought. Here's what most people miss. The greatest approvals don't come after a parade. They come in the quiet, when no one is watching, when the struggle is invisible to the outside world. The deepest recognition isn't announced with banners or noise. It's carved into heaven's memory, reserved for the ones who stayed true when compromise looked easier. This isn't about what you will one day achieve. It's about what you've already done. Because the truth is, you could have unraveled. You could have abandoned your peace. You could have allowed exhaustion to dictate your decisions. But you didn't. And in that moment, something sacred happened. God smiled. Not at perfection, but at endurance. Not at status, but at character. That response is not symbolic. It's directional. His delight over your choices is already shaping what's ahead of you. Understand this clearly. Heaven doesn't celebrate only the dramatic victories. It celebrates the private loyalties, the moments you stayed soft when anger hardened others, the times you chose patience when urgency pushed you to rush, the small yes you whispered that no one else even heard. That's what carried eternal value. You didn't prove yourself by putting on a show. You proved yourself with consistency, your private life echoing the same truth as your public one. And that kind of integrity leaves an imprint nothing can erase. That's why this message has found you now, to remind you that those unseen moments were not wasted. They were not forgotten. They became part of heaven's evidence that your life can carry more than you thought. You may not have been celebrated when it happened. You may have even wondered if it mattered. But those moments have already begun echoing. They've already started shaping your path forward. And here's the truth you need to take in. Divine delight is not temporary. It doesn't fade like applause from a crowd. It lingers. It becomes favor. It becomes covering. The world may not have noticed. People may never acknowledge it. But the unseen has already responded. Your grace has already rewritten the atmosphere around you. And now comes the part no one prepares you for. When God smiles, it doesn't end with recognition. It begins with rearrangement. Because divine delight isn't just affection, it's permission. It's heaven saying, this one can handle more. That means environments start shifting. Paths you didn't plan begin opening. And it won't always feel comfortable, because heaven doesn't celebrate you just to leave you where you are. Grace becomes a doorway, and the same grace you showed in hidden places is the same grace that will now carry you into rooms you never thought you'd enter. Think of a horizon right before sunrise. For hours, the darkness seems endless. Then suddenly, one thin line of light cuts across the sky. That light doesn't ask permission. It doesn't need applause. It simply announces, the night is over. That's what your life is doing right now. The way you handled your midnight has become the proof that you're ready for dawn. And heaven is responding with alignment. Connections you didn't chase, favor you didn't bargain for, doors you didn't even know existed. But here's the part that will stretch you. This isn't about waiting for others to recognize what's happening in you. It's about living in such a way that you recognize it yourself. Live like you can already see God's smile. Live like your dream life is already here, and every step is ordered with precision. Because if God Himself designed every detail of your path, would you walk timidly, or would you move with full trust that nothing has been wasted? And when you live that way, everything begins to shift. Fear loses its grip. Doubt loses its volume. Your path stops feeling random and starts feeling directed. Because living as though every detail is divinely ordered allows you to step into alignment with what heaven has already prepared. My dear friend, you're already doing this. You already are faithful. You already trust. That's the reason you'll notice your words carrying a deeper resonance when you speak. It's why peace will follow you into rooms still buzzing with conflict. It's why opportunities will seem to find you instead of you running after them. Because once God delights in you, creation itself begins to cooperate. Here's a truth most won't say out loud. God's smile is more disruptive than His silence. Silence allows you to wrestle. His smile forces you to rise. And that's what you're being pulled into now. Not just survival, not just getting by, but impact. Your grace has now become the foundation of your influence. Not influence for validation or status, but influence that anchors the spaces you touch and the lives that cross your path. You've been prepared for this moment. even when you didn't know it. Every time you chose grace, you were fortifying your roots. Every time you kept your integrity, you were storing oil for the lamp you'll need now. Every time you endured in silence, you were writing chapters heaven intends to publish in the open. And now the publishing begins. But hear this clearly. This isn't about proving yourself to anyone. You already proved it where it mattered most. This next season isn't a test. It's a reveal. It's heaven showing the earth what it already celebrated in secret. So don't be shocked when rooms open. Don't be surprised when you feel stretched. Don't hesitate when opportunities that seem too big start circling your life. That's not luck. That's not coincidence. That's the echo of grace carrying you forward. And yes, grace will still feel costly. Carrying yourself with grace when others expect rage will still test you. Choosing grace when shortcuts glitter in front of you will still feel heavy. But here's the difference now. You won't just be sustaining yourself, you'll be shaping futures. Because grace doesn't just protect you, it builds a path behind you. Others will step more safely because you didn't collapse. Others will choose better because they saw you refuse bitterness. And that's why God smiled. Not only at you, but through you. Let me tell you something bold. Heaven's delight over you is not just about your past decisions, it's about your future reach. That smile is an investment. It's heaven saying, we can entrust more to this one. We can stretch their borders. We can place more in their hands. And more is coming. More blessing, more reach, more impact. And yes, more responsibility. Not because you begged for it, but because you proved trustworthy in the moments nobody else saw. So stand tall now. Don't second guess what's unfolding. You're not here by accident. You didn't stumble into this moment. You were prepared through pressure, refined in restraint, and revealed through grace. And the God who smiled at you in private is now ready to affirm you in public. Let me close with this. The greatest honor is not applause, it's trust. And heaven trusts you. That's why this message is reaching you now. Your grace has already opened something in the unseen. Your posture has already begun rewriting your future. And His delight over your life is not fading, it's expanding into favor that follows you. So walk forward with confidence. Walk forward with clarity. Walk forward knowing this. God's approval over your life is not just comfort, it's assignment. And nothing can stand against that. Thank you so much for taking this journey with me. If this message resonated, please like, share it with someone who might benefit, and subscribe to stay connected. Continue your awakening journey by choosing one of the videos on your screen that resonates with you the most. See you there.